Hello, my name is Edie Poteet, and my school and I recently visited Fort King George. This is Fort King George. It is the oldest English fort on Georgia's coast that is still remaining today. It was used from 1721 all the way to 1736. The architect of the fort is Colonel John Barnwell, also known as Tuscarora Jack. It is 12 acres and was considered part of South Carolina until later ruled as Georgia. It was the southernmost outpost of the British Empire in North America. The fort included a blockhouse, an officer's quarters, barracks, a guardhouse, a moat, 2 sheds, a baking and brewing house, and a blacksmith shop. The officers' quarters were used to house officers and other important figures that came to the fort. The barracks were used to house soldiers, and the blockhouse is where soldiers would go to protect the fort. The baking and brewing house is where the beer and meals would be made and eaten. Many soldiers would drink a gallon of beer each day because the conditions were so harsh. The blacksmith shop is where the weapons and tools were made. The 2 sheds held livestock, although there were few heads of livestock. The guardhouse was used to spot enemies approaching, and the moat was used to keep enemies from coming onto the fort grounds. The fort had a wall of 7 cannons to shoot upon unwanted ships and enemies. During the 7 years, the soldiers endured many hardships. They endured disease, threats of Spanish and Indian attacks, and the harsh coastal environment. Due to the harsh conditions, 140 officers and soldiers died. In 1732, the British Empire abandoned Fort King George. However, in 1736, James Oglethorpe and a group of Scottish Highlanders arrived at the fort. They built a replacement fort at the mouth of the Altamaha River, and this provided a buffer between the English and Spanish colonies in Florida. Georgia may have ended up as a Spanish colony had it not been for this fort. The settlement called Darien eventually became a major export center of lumber until 1925. Many people come from all over the country to look at this historical English fort.